The first time she said it, her voice didn't tremble but her eyes did. It happened under a soft amber glow of cafe lights, where laughter from nearby tables blurred into a distant hum, and the clinking of glasses sounded like echoes of a life she had already lived. Mayhor sat across from him, fingers wrapped tightly around her cup, as if grounding herself in something solid before everything else slipped away.
This is SK Stories, where every story reminds us that kindness, empathy, and second chances can appear in the most unexpected moments. If you enjoy stories that inspire the heart, press like, share this video with someone special, leave your thoughts in the comments, and subscribe to SK Stories for more powerful stories.
Feelings could blur logic, to remind him and herself of everything that stood between them. Years, experiences, regrets, and a life she had already carried on her shoulders. But Aris didn't flinch. Instead, he leaned back slightly, studying her face with a quiet smile that didn't feel immature or impulsive. It felt intentional, like he had already made a decision long before this moment. And then he said, the words that would linger in her mind long after that night ended. "You're exactly what I want." That should have been enough for her to walk away. It should have sounded naive, reckless, even foolish. But something in the way he said it, calm, unwavering, almost gentle, made it impossible for her to dismiss it so easily. Because it didn't sound like a young man chasing a fantasy. It sounded like someone who knew exactly what he was choosing, and why. Still, Mayhor wasn't someone who allowed herself to believe in things that felt too good to be true. Her life had taught her otherwise. At 38, she had already lived through a marriage that had broken her spirit slowly, like a silent storm that never seemed to end. She had loved deeply, once trusted completely, and watched it all crumble into betrayal and loneliness. By the time she walked away, she wasn't just leaving a man behind, she was leaving behind the version of herself who believed in forever. Years had passed since then, but the scars didn't fade easily. She rebuilt her life piece by piece, learning to stand on her own, to find peace in solitude, and to protect her heart like something fragile. Love, for her, had become a chapter she had quietly closed. Until Aris. He was 27, young, ambitious, full of a kind of hope she had long forgotten. They met through work, where their paths crossed casually at first. Small conversations turned into longer ones, and before she realized it, she found herself looking forward to moments she never expected to matter. It wasn't just his charm or his warmth. It was the way he listened. The way he noticed things others overlooked. The way he spoke about life not with arrogance, but with a curiosity that made everything feel possible again. Around him, she didn't feel like someone who had been through too much. She felt lighter, and that scared her. Because she knew how this story was supposed to go. A younger man gets fascinated. An older woman gets cautious. Reality eventually steps in, and everything falls apart. She had seen it happen before, not in her own life, but in the stories whispered around her, in the judgments people made, in the quiet pity reserved for women who dared to step outside what was considered acceptable. So she tried to keep her distance. She responded slower, avoided unnecessary conversations, reminded herself of every reason why this couldn't work. But Aris didn't disappear. He didn't push aggressively either. He simply stayed consistent, showing up in small, meaningful ways, remembering details she forgot she had shared, checking in on her during days when she seemed quieter than usual, making her laugh at moments she didn't think she needed it. He wasn't trying to prove something. He was just there. And slowly, against all her defenses, something inside Mayhor began to shift. Not dramatically, not all at once, but quietly, like the first drop of rain after a long drought. Still, she resisted. One evening, as they walked side by side after work, the sky painted in shades of fading gold, she finally said what had been weighing on her mind for weeks. She told him about her past, not the polished version, but the raw, painful truth, the heartbreak, the disappointment, the fear of trusting again. She expected him to step back, to realize that this wasn't a simple story of attraction or curiosity, but he didn't. He listened without interrupting, without trying to fix anything. And when she finished, there was a long silence between them. Not uncomfortable, just heavy with everything she had shared. Then he said something that caught her off guard. He told her that her past didn't make her less, it made her real. That her scars weren't something to avoid, they were something to understand. And that he wasn't looking for someone untouched by pain. He was looking for someone who knew how to survive it. For the first time in years, Mahor felt something crack open inside her. Not fully, not enough to let her guard down completely, but enough to let a little light in. Their connection deepened slowly after that. They began spending more time together, simple moments that felt unexpectedly meaningful. Coffee breaks turned into long conversations. Walks turned into shared silences that didn't need words. And yet, the world around them didn't stay silent. People noticed. Whispers started. Subtle comments. Curious glances. Some questioned his intentions. Others judged her choices. The difference in their ages became something everyone seemed to have an opinion about. Even those who didn't understand their story. Mahar felt the weight of it all. She had spent years rebuilding her dignity, her independence. She didn't want to become a topic of discussion. Didn't want to be seen as someone clinging to youth or chasing something unrealistic. One night, overwhelmed by it all, she pulled away completely. She stopped responding to his messages. Avoided places she knew he might be. Created distance so suddenly that even she struggled to understand her own decision. It wasn't because she didn't care. It was because she cared too much. She thought she was protecting herself, but what she didn't realize was how much she was also hurting him. Days turned into weeks. The silence between them grew heavier with each passing moment. And yet, Ares didn't give up. He didn't bombard her with messages or demands. Instead, one evening, he simply showed up at the place where it all began, the same cafe, where she had first tried to push him away. And somehow, as if drawn by something she couldn't explain, Mahor found herself there too. Maybe it was coincidence, or maybe it was something deeper. When their eyes met, the silence between them wasn't awkward, it was filled with everything they hadn't said. He didn't ask why she disappeared. He didn't accuse her or question her decisions. He simply said something that felt like the truth she had been running from. He told her that love wasn't about fitting into timelines or meeting expectations. It wasn't about age or numbers, or what the world thought made sense. It was about connection. About choosing someone fully and honestly, despite everything that could go wrong. And then he said the one thing she needed to hear, that he wasn't afraid. The question was she? That night, Mahar realized something she had been avoiding for a long time. Her fear wasn't about society. It wasn't about age. It was about vulnerability. About opening her heart again and risking everything she had worked so hard to protect. But in trying to avoid pain, she had also been avoiding the possibility of something beautiful. And maybe, just maybe, Ares wasn't a mistake. Maybe he was a chance. A chance she didn't think she deserved anymore. As she sat there, looking at him, the same calm, steady presence she had grown to trust, she felt something shift inside her completely. Not fear. Not doubt, but courage. For the first time in years, she allowed herself to believe that love didn't have to follow the same path it once did, that it could look different, feel different, be different. And maybe that was okay, because sometimes the most unexpected connections are the ones that change us the most. If this story touched your heart even a little, take a moment to like this video and subscribe, because stories like these remind us that love doesn't follow rules, it follows truth. Before the ending, tell me in the comments, do you believe age should matter in love, or is connection all that truly counts? In the end, Mahar didn't find a perfect story. She found a real one. Messy, uncertain, and filled with questions, but also filled with something she thought she had lost forever. Hope.